After discussing general characteristics about his poems, I wish to talk about a river, which is a very well-known, very famous poem by A.K. Ramanujan. Though since 1962, Ramanujan was at the University of Chicago, where he worked as a professor of Dravidian studies and linguistics, he looked across the Atlantic to the Indian past for his poetic inspiration. The memories of his past life in India as a child, the large Indian families, the Indian landscape, the temples, the cities, his ancestors, all these are the recurrent themes of his poetry. However, he has little sentimental, nostalgic fondness for things Indian. As a great artist, he retains his detachment and objectivity. A river is a dig at the poets who sing only of the events that tickle them, the most unmindful of what it means to others. Poetry is nothing but a form of self-indulgence to these poets. The rivers celebrated in the poem is the Vaikai river, which flows through Madurai, a city that has for about 2000 years been the seat of Tamil culture. As an evocation to the river, the poem succeeds admirably. The river dries to a trickle every summer, bearing the sand ribs, straw, a woman's hair, etc., etc. In the dried riverbed, the wet stones glistening like sleepy crocodiles, and the dry ones look like shaven water buffaloes laughing in the sun. However, the poet never writes about the dry rivers. The ancient Indian poets always sing only of the floods. Everybody in Madurai talks of the rising water level in the river, oblivious of the fact that the floods have carried off 3 village houses, 1 pregnant woman, and a couple of cows named Gopi and Brinda. The poets still sing about rivers, but following the old traditions of ancient poets, they sing only of floods, unmindful of the devastations brought about by the flooding rivers. Now let's talk about irony and satire in his poems. Ramanujan satirizes the apathy and indifference of the poets, ancient and modern, to human suffering. The poets are unconcerned with the pregnant women drowned, with perhaps twins in her, kicking at blank walls even before birth. Ramanujan's satiric vein is obvious from the very first line. The casual tone of the poet makes the irony all the more pungent and sharp. By his flippant tone, he heightens the effect of pathos. Now, I want to talk about his next popular poem, Obituary. Apparently, the poem is written in a flippant and mock-ironic tone, but throughout the lines we find a moving undercurrent of deep pathos. Ramanujan accomplishes a pathetic effect with his non-serious or casual style, which no high-sounding words or equivalent phrases could have accomplished. Take, for example, the legacy he left. He means his father. I quote, "Father, when he passed on, left dust on a table full of papers, left dates and daughters, a bed-wetting grandson. Unquote. The poet brings out the futility of our worldly personalities and the emptiness of our mundane existence in these lines. I quote, being the burning type, his father, he burnt properly at the cremation. Unquote. Ultimately, what does a man leave behind? Only several spinal discs? So, in this way, he sometimes ironically suggests the transience of human life. He talks about human predicament in his poems. Even in this poem, which I am discussing, the obituary, we see human predicament. The poem confronts us with a puzzling philosophical problem, that is, whether man is a doer or a sufferer, whether he does things for himself or things happen to him. Are we really helpless, placed in a hopeless predicament where we cannot choose anything? Again, I quote some lines from the same poem. Everything he didn't quite manage to do himself, like his Caesarean birth in a Brahmin ghetto and his death by heart failure in the fruit market. See the human predicament in this poem. His father did not die intentionally in the fruit market. He happened to die. So here in these lines, the poet only suggests things, the shortness of life, the transience of life. I hope you enjoyed the lecture, and I will discuss many more Anglo-Indian poets in the next